why they chose this block for us to do today. Ahead, I'm sorry. I apologize to Kimberly and Eric. And Greg, you're not Eric.
What about Juan?
What? Well, I think Juan was engaged. Juan was engaged. He was loving it, and Eric was rallying. That's true. All right, ahead. Some are trying to make a big deal out of Hillary's health. Greg's take on the latest coughing controversy. That's next.
The hack even Julia Assange couldn't match.
I've been talking so. Every time I think about Trump, I get allergic.
At least she got a laugh.
It's like she smoked a pack of Camels and not the cigarettes, the actual animals. She coughed so hard, butterflies in China died. Now, maybe she had a frog in her throat, or perhaps she's a shape-shifting space lizard trying to communicate with her overlords. Either way, such fits feed into the rumors, which is why she can now just laugh it off, because the more you cry conspiracy, the harder it is to make a case when it's real.
Are you concerned about conspiracy theories about your health and whether that will affect the election? And are you concerned separately about the tightening polls with Donald Trump?
I'm not concerned about the conspiracy theories. There are so many of them, I've lost track of them. And so I pay no attention to them.
But her health should matter, and so should Trump's. Together, they're 140 years old, or one Larry King. So if we care about her cough, then we should care about Trump's doctor's note, too, a scribbled Mad Lib that wouldn't get you out of fifth-grade gym class. And remember, Donald himself said Hillary's health should be off limits, which is odd, and why we need transparency from both of them. It's absurd that we rely on their people and not an objective, agreeable third party to run thorough physicals. Keep the private stuff private, but tell us what matters. I don't want to know about embarrassing birthmarks. Lord knows I have a few. I have a mole that looks like Lou Dobbs. But the heart and the brain, this stuff matters. Make it fair game for both candidates. No notes and no conspiracies, just the facts. Of course, this means I could never run for president. You'd have to handle my specimen collections with oven mitts.
Oh, gosh.
Sorry, Kimberly.
Oh.
Why did anybody give her a cough drop? I think she got one later, but
Well,
it was
that's
like
the thing. I'd have them in my pant pocket, right? Just like to whip
Remember
out
Beckel?
at any time.
He used to have like 30 cough drops.
In case of emergency, they were always here on the table, and he'd like pop one. Yeah, that's what happens. But also, why didn't he go up? Why didn't King go up and, you know, I don't know. He should have gone up and told one of Dana's the corny jokes.
Oh, hey, while she finishes popping.
Right? Anything. Why did the chicken cross the street? Something to kind of just divert away for a moment and also look chivalrous and help her out. Right. Give her a chance.
We just showed. I mean, we would have had a 7-minute segment to show the whole thing, so we can only show.
You had to cut it.
We had to cut it for time, for space. Juan, was it just a cough, or could it be something more sinister?
Yeah, like a vast right-wing conspiracy. I think that could be the problem. I think she's got that. She definitely, whatever virus it is, she's caught it. I mean, it's to me, it's intriguing that her opponents, but even Trump, Rudy Giuliani, they keep saying, "Oh, go check on her health." I just don't get it. The fact checkers, the doctors, it's just no comparison. And by comparison, when you look at that note on Donald Trump's health, he'd be the healthiest president ever, signed by a guy named Dr. Bornstein, and what he did was he said, "Oh, I just flipped this off in 5 minutes while the car was waiting," and Trump You think, well, that's a joke. But again, it's the low bar Trump is held to versus anything Hillary does, call out the 5 alarms.
Well, why can't they just have an objective person, they both candidates go, and I mean that would solve everything.
Yeah, I think you're
Dr.
right.
Siegel?
Yeah. In fact, I think Dana requested that months ago. They should both just submit to an independent physician to do a full up and down exam. But here's why it's not so much a conspiracy theory. As recently as Friday, we learned that 40 times during the FBI interview, she said, "I can't remember." Something. If you've ever been interviewed by the FBI, you kind of remember what they want to hear. 40 times in the span of a couple hours, she couldn't remember something. She also had head trauma. Remember, she was supposed to testify in Benghazi, but she had the fall, and she had head trauma, and she had to delay the testimony. When she finally did testify, she had to come back with, remember, one of the lenses on her glasses was darkly shaded. Rand Pauls, who was a surgeon, said that's likely due to some sort of head trauma that she took to the brain. The shell, the covering of the brain underneath the skull. well, so there may be some trauma. So call it what you want, call it vast right-wing conspiracy, but when things happen where you're electing the next most powerful human being on the planet, you want to make sure that everything is okay. I'm not suggesting it's not, but let's make sure.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that should, the same for Hillary and the same for Trump. The note is the thing that freaks me out, just the way her cough, I mean, the cough was a little bit of alarming, but I don't know how a cough goes with a concussion.
I just don't see how it's alarming. I mean, the concussion thing, I grant you, like that, you'd want to like check that out. Like, if she can't remember all these things in an FBI interview, and she had said she was perfectly fine, but then she's blaming the concussion in the FBI interview, I think that's suspect, but I don't see how a cough and a concussion are related. And it does scream of, like, they can't say she was born in Nigeria or like suggest that. So like now the suggestion is, oh, okay, well maybe she's gonna die. You know, it does seem a little bit absurd. But the health issues and presidents are always absurd. Do you guys remember when President Bush was watching the football game and ate a pretzel and it went down the wrong way and it was like international news for 5 days because he choked on a pretzel.
Remember the older Bush threw up in Japan?
Yes, and then there were all the conspiracies about that.
That's why I could never be
But the
president.
point is, you should check out the health. Make sure anybody who's running for president does have a clean bill of health. It's important.
But by that standard, she's met the standard. She gave the note from her long-term doctor. He sends in a doctor who's a gastroenterologist.
Independent.
No,
I think she
right. All I'm saying is the existing standard is your doctor sends a fully vetted note saying, I examine this person, here's their state of health. Donald Trump sends in something from a gastroenterologist.
Gastroenterologist,
And I mean, the guy says, oh, I knocked this off in 5 minutes, uses the craziest language, says everything's positive. People say, positive from a doctor?
You don't want to hear positive.
You don't want to hear that. I mean, it's just, but I love the conspiracy stuff about, oh, the Secret Service agent is really carrying some kind of pen in case she has a seizure. Oh, that bulk on the back of her, Dana, you must have heard this one. The bulk on the back of her, that's a defibrillator in case she has a heart.
Oh, I hadn't heard that.
It just goes to such extremes. It's nutty.
All right, we got to move on. We got so much more. Clinton and Trump go.
This election cycle. Who is more fit to be our next commander-in-chief? Clinton and Trump will take part in a Commander-in-Chief Forum tomorrow, where they'll address national security and military issues. Today, Clinton released a harsh attack ad trying to paint Trump as bad for our veterans.
I'm Hillary Clinton, and I approve this message.
I know more about ISIS than the generals do.
John McCain, a war hero. He's not a war hero. He's a war hero. He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay?
Donald Trump compared his sacrifices to the sacrifices of two parents who lost their son in war.
How would you answer that, Father? What sacrifice have you made for your country? I think I've made a lot of sacrifices, built great structures. I've had tremendous success. I think those are sacrifices.
Meanwhile, Trump earned the endorsement of 88 vets today, all retired generals and admirals. They signed an open letter urging voters to elect the Republican nominee. Both candidates addressed it today.
We really appreciate all of those generals and admirals that today endorsed me. These are our fighters. These are our fighting generals, and there are actually a lot more to come.
I now have more endorsements from retired flag officers than any Democrat other than an incumbent president has ever had. Compare where Trump is with where both Romney and McCain were. They had between 300 and 500. I'm doing better than any Democrat. He's doing worse than recent Republicans.
Okay, so Dana, she has her talking points ready there and the numbers. Do you think that this helps Trump, and is her statement against him showing to the contrary?
I think the numbers get a little bit lost for people. Like, you won't necessarily, when you go to the polls, you won't necessarily remember, oh, he had 500, she had 300, 200, whatever. I think that gets a little bit lost. I do think that the ad was effective if you are targeting people who are on the fence, and if you're in the military. The military has actually been pretty strong for Trump. But not all. So I think that her ad was effective mostly because I just like the tactic, whether you're Trump or Hillary, of using their words to make your point. And I think that she did that pretty well.
Okay, what do you think about the ad? Did she use it effectively, like Dana said, to make her case that she's had the support, because she's pointing out not just on past Democratic candidates, but also beating out numbers from former Republican candidates?
Well, I'm not sure that, I think I agree with Dana on that the numbers get kind of lost. What did she say, more flight officers?
Flag officers.
Flag officers. I thought you said flag.
So Romney had 500 and Trump has 88. But I think that showed pretty good organization from the Trump campaign.
And there's time still. I mean, it's not like this is it. But
flag officers.
Flag officers. I thought you said flag.
So Romney had 500 and Trump has 88. But I think that showed pretty good organization from the Trump campaign.
And there's time still. I mean, it's not like this is it. But